yeah, like I did not want to see Shia LaBeouf's butt. Like
You saw his butt.
I saw Shia LaBeouf's
That is
butt.
traumatizing for me.
I wasn't expecting.
I would have been like,
you know,
how can I forget this?
like we were.
They
laughing.
purposely did it too. Again, it was like his back, right? It was literally like his back, and we were like, oh yeah, I guess he's nude. And then like purposely was just like, let's look at his butt.
Oh no way!
Yeah.
Guy.
And the only reason why I'm giving like some details is because obviously
Wouldn't want you to see it.
there's no need to see it, right? But just to give you an idea, you know what I mean?
Why?
Like you can't just go and focus on this part, you know, and film it in such a grotesque and vulgar and like blasphemous manner, and then not finish it off, you know, because someone that knows nothing about Padre Pio,
like,
which when you watch a movie, you should assume that the viewer knows nothing about who you're, you know, whatever, right? Someone who knows nothing would look at this movie and think, this man was disturbed. Like, this man was, like, had
They made
issues.
him look like a deranged crazy.
Please share this to all your friends who still have not watched the movie. And to those that didn't watch the movie, just give this to them so they have a broader idea.
Hit that like button and subscribe.
Hit the like button and subscribe. Welcome everyone to Catholic Ministry. All right. So today we have an amazing time to share with our sis and brother, Steph and Gabe. Thank you so much for, this is our beautiful house. We over here set up, I brought a little bit too much. Baby Lucia, one time you see this, yes, you're not here, we're here. Anyway, so today we got over here this beautiful couple, this beautiful marriage, along with my beautiful wife, Sarah, the co-host, as you know, to talk about the experience of watching the new movie, San Padre Pio, which by the name, I don't think it should be called that name, but that's my perspective. So, Steph, tell us, first of all, how are you guys?
Great.
Good.
Blessed. Amen. So, tell us, Steph, going into the expectation of like waiting for this movie. We were talking about this movie for like a year or something. Then we found out that Shia LaBeouf, he was going through the process of conversion. Everybody went nuts. I was nuts. I was so happy. Then he got to the interview with Bishop Barron. It was an amazing interview. I mean, I was in shock. We share a lot of things that he said, at least how he found the faith and what he thinks about going to the faith. I think it feels like it's going in a good path. So we're really happy and blessed that this amazing actor took this step to embrace the Catholic faith in Jesus Christ. But tell us, what was your expectation as well as Gabe going into waiting for this movie?
So for me, I was super excited.
Yeah.
For a multitude of reasons. I think like the Bishop Robert Barron interview was like the height of what really got me excited.
Yeah.
Because I think at this point, the majority of at least young Catholics have seen the interview. And just seeing Shia's conversion story, which these past couple of years, I haven't followed Shia too much, so I didn't know what he was up to. I didn't know who he dated. I didn't know the drama. But in that interview, he shared a little bit about it. I'm like, whoa, he's been through a lot. Like, I remember you from like Even Steven, Transformers, like all these things. Right. He is like the actor of our times, he's like kind of around our age, Obviously I knew he wasn't Catholic, so hearing that he's playing Padre Pio, one of the most amazing saints in the Catholic Church, right?
My babe.
And then it's played by Shia LaBeouf, awesome actor, and then through him making this movie, he starts to share his conversion. And not only does he share his conversion, but it was beautiful to hear him talk about the traditional Latin Mass.
Right, I got
specifically with Robert Barron. Like, it was the most
it was like,
ironic thing.
He got balls.
It was the most ironic thing, surprising thing. Like, I was like, no one was expecting that. I don't think Bishop Robert Barron was expecting that.
He was like, how do I answer this?
Shoot.
Yeah, just hearing him express, like, his encounter with God, and then his encounter with the church, and then his encounter with the TLM was just like beautiful. Like, I remember he gave this example of how he felt how like in the Novus Ordo Mass, like it was kind of like a car salesman, like they were trying to sell him something. And that when he finally experienced the Latin Mass, he felt like this is it. And so as someone that obviously, also, converted to the traditional Latin Mass, I just felt like, wow, like this person that didn't know Jesus is now going straight to the TLM. So, I don't know, as a TLM goer, I think everybody was like super excited about that and was kind of like, yes, like you get it. Like you see the beauty and the richness of the Mass and of our faith and of our Lord and everything that he's, able to do. And then obviously I started to hear a little bit about some of the things that he had been dabbling into before that. And I'm like, wow, this guy was in deep trouble. Like nobody wanted him for any other movie. Like
he hit rock bottom for sure.
He hit rock bottom. I think he was on the verge of going to jail. Like
suicide.
There's like abuse charges on him and stuff like that. So I'm like, I definitely want to watch this movie. I definitely want to learn more about his story and I want to share this with other people. So I was super excited.
What about you, Gabe?
Oh man, I was super excited too. Especially after that interview with Bishop Robert Barron. I was like, oh man, finally something great, and it's crazy because we're holding up these actors to like a higher right, and then things play out differently, right? And so I was very excited. I remember like putting down the baby and I was like, okay, finally I'm not gonna go sleep on the floor, because I lay down like on the floor while I'm putting her to bed, right? But I typically fall asleep on the floor. This time I was like wide open, just like make sure I don't fall asleep. She finally falls asleep. I'm like finally getting the popcorn ready. I never eat popcorn, right?
You were super excited,
right? I was super excited. Never eat popcorn for anything. I'm already having the popcorn in the microwave. And then
I'm gonna have to hold you back if you're gonna go into how it was your reaction to it.
Yeah, we're not going.
No.
No, don't worry.
This is still the expectation.
This is the preparation.
This is the build-up.
I'm setting you guys up, right? So I'm here, like I'm even like sitting Indian style on the couch, right? Which I never do, I'm here like excited, like
It's like when you're gonna watch like Power Rangers when you're a kid or something.
Exactly, right? So. After hearing everything with Shia LaBeouf and stuff, I'm not too much on his backstory and all that stuff. I really don't care about that because when I think about my own life and all the crazy things that I've gone through, right? God is merciful to me and God forgave me and He's given me this second opportunity that I was able to see and I took it, I ran with it, and now I'm here with my wife, with a daughter, and like thank God that I said yes to the Lord because He completely changed my life. Right, and I know if He did that to me, He could do that to anyone, especially to him. So hearing that was just like a part of like why I really was excited to watch the movie.
Yeah, definitely. So before we go to the question, I want to say that honestly, after watching the interview, when I heard that he was gonna do the movie on Padre Pio, like oh wow, that's interesting. Like oh wow, but then after the interview, just like the two of you. I was like super excited to watch the movie for the simple fact that while he's trying to do this movie, he converted, which means that something important must have happened in this movie for him to be, like super deep into God and like converted to Catholicism. Like to me, what it meant was like, this movie gotta be so good that this guy converted through watching that I have to watch it no matter what. That was my expectation. What about you, baby?
Yeah, I think mine was kind of the same, and especially because it was like a new Padre Pio movie. Like we'd seen many versions, many different ones, from like the one that is black and white, that is really creepy, and it's creepy. It's black and white.
It's how the devil plays out, like very strong.
And I was just so excited, like I was ready. I told them we should like definitely watch it with the family. Like this is gonna be something amazing. Just the fact that it's like a new same movie. And right now there's a lot of movies that are coming out and they've been good. They've been pretty good. So I was excited because we're like, it's gonna be nice. Probably it's gonna be.
We love to watch movies.
Yeah, probably it's gonna bring new things. Because I also was hearing either something was that where Padre Pio came from. I believed I heard somewhere that the friars were gonna watch the movie.
Like some people from the Capuchinos watched the movie and approved of it.
That's what I've heard.
We saw that.
That's what I've heard.
Websites.
No, I don't even remember where I heard that. So that made me even more excited. Exactly. I don't think it's true, but back then I thought that was amazing because I was like, well, maybe there's gonna be new insights, like new things that are, or things maybe more about the way he lived in the in between his friends,
Yeah.
right, and his community. So yeah, I was very, very excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, he even like was with the friars for months and whatever,
Months, yeah,
preparing, and
yeah.
like they really had a huge impact on him, you
Right,
know.
right.
So I was just like,
Right.
wow, the impact that he had in this guy, this movie has to be amazing.
It has to be
You
like
know?
top-notch movie. To me, it was gonna be like, this movie has to be the best Catholic movie I ever watched in my life.
Well,
Because-
I was
At least in modern day.
Right,
yeah,
right.
I was gonna say something about that. That that was another like una parte que me impresionó. I don't know what I'm saying in Spanish, but it left me like very like wow, that's very nice, because typically when you do a movie as an actor, like you prepare for that movie, you
Yeah.
study the character, and so in this case, Shia LaBeouf got to live with these Capuchin friars,
Including his score.
and
Yeah.
Like a lot of
and
sacrifices.
like just fully like they opened their doors to him and were merciful towards him, and like were able to like kind of show him the ropes and stuff like that. And so obviously these are followers of Padre Pio, and so it's just like how you were saying, like you're expecting like wow, we're gonna be able to get like a whole new look, whole new like in-depth perception of Padre Pio, you know.
So with that said, then, Steph, tell us, the title of this video is literally the truth about the movie. Why? Because we gotta legit like be honest, right? You guys both watched the movie. I chose not to watch it because she warned me, and I know what bottles to pick. Obviously, my wife followed my lead. So tell us, I don't want you to tell us like the script, but I want you to tell us what were the things that you saw there that threw you off, and you were like, hold on, what? Like, because it was a downer. This movie was a downer for what, right? That's what we talk about expectations. So then facing the reality, can you tell us what was that about?
Yeah, so before I go into that, I want to say that I made a very big mistake with this movie. And I shared a little bit on Instagram, and it was that, just to give you a little history on me. I don't typically just watch movies like to watch them, right?
Yeah.
Even if they're Catholic. Like I said this on Instagram, like I'm not one of those people that I'm like the first in line to watch a movie. Although I will say, in agreement to what Sara said, the majority of the Catholic films that have been coming out lately have been great, you know? And we try our best to go out and support Catholic films when they come out, because we know that this is how more Catholic films get produced, by us going and watching. And so if we go out to watch a movie, chances are it's a Catholic film. And the majority that we've seen, we've been very impressed with, we've been very happy with. All that to say, I still do my research. That's just the type of person I am. Some people think I'm nuts. Sometimes he thinks I'm nuts. That's just how I am. Because the way I see it is just like, this is all entertainment, and I don't have a lot of time as it is. So if I'm going to spend my time, my leisurely time to watch something, I want it to be something that's going to be edifying. I want it to be something that I'm going to leave feeling better about myself, I don't like things that are like too dark, like gory, or like anything that's gonna put me in a near occasion of sin or anything like that is like an absolute no. So I'm always one to go and look at reviews wherever it is, right? Now, I did not do that with this movie at all.
You were
because of all the other things I just shared. We had this movie on the calendar for like over a month, waiting for the date to come, because supposedly it was supposed to come out like before, and I don't know, they kept having delays. So the point was, we were so excited, we streamed it at home. Just like Gabe was saying. We got the popcorn ready, we put the baby down, we were gonna do a little date night.
Wow.
I didn't do any research. All I knew was obviously Shia LaBeouf was gonna be in it. I didn't think, how can you ruin a Padre Pio movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, I will say, I was ready to see some dark things, because we all know that Padre Pio went through a lot of spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
And we've seen other Padre Pio movies, and we know that spiritual warfare is reflected in the movie. So it's not like I was expecting to see a happy-go-lucky Padre Pio movie.
No, yeah.
I went into it knowing there's going to be some sort of spiritual warfare at some point in there.
Of course.
So all that to say, so we just jumped right in there, and I was even like surprised with myself. Were you surprised that I did that too, or like no?
Not even, just because
everybody
was just so high on this movie that like there's no reason to like look at like what other people are saying.
Bro, it's like through months, everybody after mass, we're like, when the movie's coming out?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we just really were just caught off completely off guard. So
Deception,
so the
deception.
point. What was the question again?
Okay, so what were the scenes that literally threw you off?
Okay. So the whole.
I think that
movie-
before she says the scenes, like, okay, like you're sitting down there watching it,
Right.
right? Like, well, what happened? You
Right.
know?
And you cried,
Right.
you just got up, you smashed the TV, what do you do?
So what happened was that we started watching the movie, and the first thing that kind of like caught us like was that the way that they filmed it was a little shaky, right?
Oh, yeah.
But and so we see that for me, like I've watched indie films, I've watched different films, so I was like, okay, sometimes the way they record things, it's it's for a certain perception that they're trying to do, like make it maybe make it look more real, whatnot.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that kind of threw us off guard. But then after that, they kind of go into like, a lot of the history of the things that were going on at the time. I like that because I personally like movies where they show the historical context and the person, and then you could see how it connects, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned this on my Instagram. There's a lot of saint movies. Like there's a great JP2 movie on Forum where they do that. They show you like what Nazi Germany looked
It's very
like,
good. I
all
watched
of these things, and then his life, and it connects, and it's beautiful. So they started to do that in this movie. And we were like, okay, cool. We're like, seeing all the situation happening in Italy at the time, all the political situation and whatnot. And then little by little, they start to introduce Padre Pio. So you start to get excited. So you're like, he's celebrating the mass. He's kind of doing this. This is Shia LaBeouf. He's doing a good job and everything like that.
Yeah.
But then, as the movie starts to progress, the storyline, like the political storyline and the story of Padre Pio are just like not connected. Like they're just like two random stories in one film, and you as a viewer, you're trying to make, like, you're the entire movie trying to make that connection.
You're like, yeah.
Like, okay, like at some point, like I was telling Gabe, like I'm like, oh, maybe they're gonna connect it where like these women, they lost like their spouses at the war, and so they go to Padre Pio because we know how a lot of women followed Padre Pio.
Right.
So I'm like, that's where they're gonna make that connection. It's gonna be like where these women, they go to church and Padre Pio's there for them, and then that was not the connection.
It's like
And
two
then-
different movies.
And then it was
That's
like,
crazy.
okay, maybe like all these people are like dying, and then and it's like, no, there's no connect. So that was one of the first things that I was kind of like, where is the connection? And there's none. Which I'll say something about that later on, because I actually saw an interview with the director of the movie and Shia LaBeouf and the friar that helped them to make it. And he made a comment about that, which is very interesting. But then it finally gets to the point of like spiritual warfare, which again, I went into this knowing that this is going to come to me,
deep.
right? Now, the part that threw us off guard was that the way that they display these images, these moments of spiritual warfare, it's not clear to the audience that it's a spiritual warfare scene, right? And so in other Padre Pio movies, or even in other movies in general, like even Passion of the Christ, whenever you see the devil, the enemy, you can very clearly and distinctly know that that's the devil.
It's different from like any human being.
Correct. It's very different. And the way that they film it, it's very clear. Anybody, whether you're
All
a
aspects, all
Christian,
elements.
non-Christian, whoever you are,
Yeah.
you know that this is a
Evil.
dark being and
Yeah.
it's evil and it's very clear.
Demonic.
But in
Pure
this movie, the way that they introduced this, like I remember we were both watching it, and one of the first introductions, it's the devil appearing as a naked woman, right? And so
That was legit the first one?
No. That was.
I think that this was
that was toward the end.
that there's really only a few scenes, but the scenes are so grotesque that it's enough to like just completely ruin the entire movie. But one of the scenes is that it's just the devil appears as a naked woman, but there's no introduction to it. There's no build up to it. There's no like you definitively know that this is the devil. So I remember us watching it, and like I was able to, obviously, because my mind is like just trying to make all the connections, trying to figure everything out, because they themselves are not making it clear. So automatically when I see the naked woman, I already know that's a devil appearing as a naked woman. But Gabe looks at me, he's like, what? Why did you just do that, you know?
What happened there, bro? What happened there?
Well, because they just kind of like randomly like cuts to the scene, right? And then
I don't know where.
Right, out of nowhere, and she's like, she's actually like licking or kissing the statue of Mary.
Wow.
Which in my mind I couldn't even comprehend, and how much I felt like that kind of like
Disgusted. Yeah.
Right? That I was just like, what is going on here? Right? And then I was telling her, I was like, wait, what is this? What is she doing? Right? Like I couldn't grasp why I'm seeing what I'm seeing. Right?
Hold on. You know, like we try to keep it real now, keep it, you know, Catholic. What exactly could you see of the women? The silhouette, like kind of like the side of her.
At this particular scene is just like her face, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's just her face, and she's doing something with Mama
But you
Mary,
can see that
right?
she seems to be naked.
Right. You can't tell just yet. Right.
Okay.
But then it kind of starts to zoom out just a little bit, but then you could see like a little bit more like down here.
Right.
Right. So you could tell now
Right. There's no brats.
that she's right. But then what they do is that they purposely move the camera, like scene, right to her breasts, right? So they purposely move your eyes to her, right? They don't like zoom out where you can see like everything. It's literally just breasts, right? Like the whole
plain
screen.
breast. Plain breast.
The whole screen.
The whole screen.
Like pretty
Pornography
much, like,
aside.
from her belly to like not even showing her face anymore.
And
It's just,
she
like,
and
breasts.
on this scene, is she like in front of Padre Pio?
Yeah,
No.
she's
It's
like she's like in the same room, like
Correct. Like they're making it seem like she's in front of him,
But
the
he's not looking at him.
He's not looking at. You don't see his reaction. It's
Right.
just literally focused.
And
on
literally, Shia LaBeouf never saw the woman naked like that. Obviously not. Of course they did.
like we
I
don't know whether
don't
he
know.
saw
I mean,
her or
what
not.
do you think could have happened? Like, to put it like a little close and then you turn around.
Right. No, they could have filmed it
I
even
don't
on a
know.
completely different day. But the point was that scene with the woman, it was so meticulous. Like
Right.
it was
It was
not a
purposeful.
random scene. It was not like I've said this before where we've watched other same movies where there's been some nudity, so it's not like, you know, have no nudity. We
Yeah.
understand that there's some content, like for example, there's a St. Francis movie where you see his behind,
Yeah.
you know.
But Joel, like, he
but-
kissed the girl and go to sleep with the girl, but you don't see her naked though.
right.
So you see, like-
I brought
Right.
that example to her, right? Because
Yeah.
you don't need to have a naked girl to show that, okay,
Right.
this girl is obviously like either a prostitute
Yeah.
or she's naked or whatever. There's a lot of things you could do. You could see the dress on the floor, right?
Right.
She
There's
could be,
different
she
ways
could
to
even
show
be like a lingerie or something. I don't know, like just not that.
There
you know?
was different ways
That's
to
her
be
point.
able to portray
Crazy, bro.
that number
And-
one, that it was the enemy, which that wasn't made clear, and number two, that it was the enemy appearing as a naked woman. And so when I'm saying that these scenes are very meticulous, we later started really analyzing this and looking at it, and it's like, okay, what about it is it that makes it so pornographic or so offensive or blasphemous or whatnot? And it wasn't just a simple fact that it was a naked woman. Yes, it was a naked woman, bare breast, super random, no build up. It comes out of nowhere. So you're not even ready for this. But they take their sweet time to zoom into all the features, to get the lighting. The lighting is like perfect. Like this is not like, you know,
Let's
she's kind
sell
of in
this
the back.
breast.
It's like she's kind of in the back and you see the silhouette and you know she's naked.
Yeah.
Like no, it's like he said. He was like, babe, like they literally like zoom into that part where like you can't look at anything else and
It was
you see that,
purposeful.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so then on top of that scene, then there's the next scene, which is where the one that Gabe mentioned, that she goes and she like blasphemes an image of Our Lady, and that is the one that is just the worst of all. That as a Catholic, you know, it's very upsetting because, like I said, like you go into this very innocent, very like, oh, Padre Pio movie, you know, and you see that scene and it's like, what? Like that was just such a stab in the heart, like
Yeah, it was very
a
disturbing.
complete offense to Our Lady that didn't need to be done. Like,
And by the way, we don't think it actually happened in his life. There's no writings of the devil blaspheming Our Lady, because he can't do that, honestly. When he's
Which is-
appearing as a
is
devil,
true.
because when Our Lady is there,
She
in
stomps on
representation,
him, man.
he's out.
right,
So you're gonna portray that he's kind of like playing around with her,
right,
Yeah.
or being disgusted.
And man,
It's just-
and
it's not true.
even let's say even if it was right, like you don't do that. Like
Right.
you just that's a no. You're crossing a line, and
Right.
and it's a big line,
Right.
Like this is something that me and Steph were talking about because there's been like other movies that like I'll watch, but
Yeah.
like she won't, right? I'll give you the example of like fathers too, right?
Right.
There's some people saying like the movie was like
A lot of
blasphemous.
like F words and whatever.
Yeah, there's curse words and stuff.
I think he boxes or punched one of Jesus' images.
Yeah, right.
Enraged.
Like the
Enraged.
statue, right?
Yeah.
Right,
But that seems very human though.
So I saw the movie, and the thing is, the context of all of it makes sense.
Right.
Everything like and in the end of the movie of Father Stu, he comes back to that church.
Right.
He crosses a sign, and then he gets ordained
Right.
to
He
be a
asks
priest.
forgiveness. Yes.
Right, so everything comes back together. The storyline is perfect. It makes sense. It comes back. There's a redemption. Right. So to me, like, I was okay with that. I was like, maybe not the best scene, but like I'm okay with this movie. It was actually a pretty good movie in my opinion.
I give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Right. So, but this, bro, this was just another level.
Negative 100.
This is another level, man. Like I was like deeply disturbed, right? And for me to feel deeply disturbed on a Catholic movie that's supposed to portray this saintly man that we all like look up to, and like he's known for all these miracles that he's performed and the following, the conversions of this, and this is what you're giving. Like it really it was just a disgrace to Padre Pio, right? I feel very, very bad for Shia LaBeouf, because I do believe that what he's actually experiencing was actually true, right? So I felt very bad for him, and like obviously we gotta pray for him, right? Because I'm sure that when he released his movie, he felt like amazing about it, and now he's gonna hear everybody just
All
talking
negative,
about, and then he's just gonna be like, damn.
So one thing that I wanna say, because you said this Catholic movie. Now, I don't wanna say you're wrong, but the devil is the devil is so deception, because they sold it as a Catholic movie.
Correct.
Watch
Correct.
this.
It's not a Catholic
Number
movie.
one is Padre Pio on the poetry, and what's the name of the movie? Padre Pio.
Right.
Shia LaBeouf, right? That's the character, whatever. And then when you look at the trailer, you never saw nothing grotesque to this point. Why? Because if you show that, no Catholic's gonna watch that. And everybody's gonna be spooked out. And guess what? That's deception, because they knew exactly what people could think. Because you think they don't think about it? They of course think about this stuff.
And
But
actually, dude, they showed more in the trailer about Padre Pio than they showed anything else.
Yeah.
Right?
And
But
it's like
when you see
it's
the movie, it's like the other way.
20% and 80% the
Right.
whole situation outside.
Everything that you see about Padre Pio in the trailer is
Hey,
literally the whole entire movie.
Listen. Pure deception. And deception only comes from the devil. What I'm trying to say is that the Lord, obviously the Lord is the Lord, in basic demonology, demons just don't do whatever they want. God, in a way, just using us like little pawns. Is that how you say pawns?
Pawns.
Yeah.
Like little pawns. And they don't even know it.
Right.
So these people, God, let them do this stuff, because at the end, they're like, we got to understand like the intentionality. What you want to make a movie that you're going to make these specific scenes, right? Like when you make a movie, like you think about every scene. You watch every scene hundreds and hundreds of times until you're like, you know what? These scenes actually make sense. And to them, this thing actually makes sense, because they want to send out a message of like, that we talk about it right now. But here's the thing. Because God, allowed these demons to do whatever they want. They think they get away with it, but they're not. God is using it for a specific reason. And one of the reasons why I'm really glad is Shia LaBeouf conversion, because his conversion also brought many people like attention to the Catholic faith, and that's legit. That's a fact, because after he had this interview with Bishop Barron, he went to another guy that also an actor. He is in his life. He has this huge podcast too, like millions of people watch his podcast. And Shia LaBeouf went to his podcast, and on that podcast, I watched the whole thing. It's like 5 hours, 4 hours, and he was very like, F words here and there, because it was still through a process. It's very difficult for you to just live your life in a couple of months, a year or whatever. So, but he was talking real stuff, like talking about like Jesus, talking about like the Catholic faith there in the weird thing that is not Catholic at all.
Right.
So in many people, I would look at the comments like, oh wow, I would never think that the Catholic faith would bring such a things as this, whatever. And guess what? God used these people to have Shia LaBeouf getting out of suicide because he was trying to kill himself right before this movie, converted, and through his conversion also bring more souls to him. Meanwhile, he allowed this movie to come out many people thank God when you guys watch it the same day it came out, right?
Yeah.
You send the test on what are shots. I believe you because I trust you 100%. And then went ahead on my Instagram and my Facebook. I am in a Facebook group. Maybe you that watch this video, whatever, or this show, whatever, program, whatever. Are the traditional Latin Mass Catholics in Facebook. We're talking about like more than 200,000 people. And I put it there, what you said, and what somebody else said about the scene, how blasphemous it is. And you know how many people thank me? Like, thank you, and I'm going to watch this movie. I don't need to watch it. Thank you for letting me know. And guess what? That's great because you're helping other people not to get into, because at the end of the day, like, do you actually get something good out of the movie?
No. Well, I wanted to say something about that because I saw in one of the chats that I'm in, one of the mom chats, that someone, up to this point, the movie's been out, I believe, already for like a week or two.
A week only.
And for the most part, the consensus, thankfully, has been kind of the same. Everyone has said that this movie is trash. Like I've honestly only heard maybe 2 people saying that it's okay.
I heard a priest.
I saw that one.
I was like,
we can talk about that. But overall, everybody else said no. But then one of the moms asked a question, and she was like, okay, do you guys think that for a person that's a non-Catholic, that this would be a beneficial movie for them because maybe them hearing like, Padre Pio cursing or whatnot maybe makes it feel like more relatable to them
no.
and will help them in their conversion, right? And so
that's so dumb.
I was kind of like, okay, I'm like trying to see where she's trying to come from. I could see how someone could maybe think that, right? It's very similar to a Father Stu, that when you see a person's story and you see their sins and their life and everything they go through, you connect to that, and then you say, oh, if they could do
very
this.
2 different characters though, because Padre Pio was the same from like a little kid.
Yeah, yeah. So,
very
but I was trying to see where this lady was coming from, but I can very staunchly, very like directly say, and that's why I told you guys in the chat immediately after we watched the movie, that I could not in good faith recommend this movie to anybody. And not only not recommend it, but I recommend that people not watch it, because at the end of the day, like, like, I want you to get to heaven. I want you to get to heaven. I want my husband to get to heaven. I want everybody to get to heaven, I want everybody to have an encounter with Jesus Christ, And if this movie even had an ounce that I could see where God was glorified, where Padre Pio was honored, where someone could watch this and be like, yes, like I want to follow Christ.
Jesus is alive.
I would say, you know what, give it a shot. But this was not it. The movie was complete trash. The movie was not about Padre Pio, Not to mention, there's a lot of people that are struggling with these very particular sins of
millions and millions of people.
Of even different sins against Mary, which it was kind of beautiful that the day right after the movie came out, it was a first Saturday, so we definitely went to go do the first Saturday devotion and do some reparation for that.
For sure.
But, like, I think, like, we are, we're a body of Christ. Like, we're here to, like, help each other out. And, like, obviously I watched it on the first day, which I never do, and I learned my lesson now,
That's nice.
But if that wasn't me, let's say, like, we would have watched it a couple days after, right? Or the weekend after. Maybe we would have said, hey, we're going to go do a date night and whatnot. And you guys would have watched it first. Like, I would have loved for someone to tell me, hey, don't watch that movie. Like that, anything that,
save the money.
Is
save the money too.
Seriously, like this economy. Like, like you're working so hard and then you're going to go and pay for a ticket and popcorn and
$25 just on tickets.
To go and
$30 popcorn.
Waste your time, like
$7 Snickers is like, bro, get out of here.
$6 water bottle.
Who has that? You know what I mean? So it's like, no, of course I'm going to go out of my way and like let people know, like, absolutely not. Like, I would not want my husband, my children. I was like,
so many
can you
people watching with their Johnsters.
Like a Catholic family,
and they were so devastated,
let's go
bro.
watch the Padre Pio movie.
Like, after that, bro, what are the conversations?
Like, thinking it's nothing, and then your child witnesses this. I'm like, this is not a movie, which, by the way, that's another thing that we talked about, that a lot of times we watch these movies to see if, like, later on, this is something we can watch as a family, And I'm like, this movie is complete trash. I can't watch it with my cousin, with my friend, with my kid, no one.
T-R-E-S-H. Trash.
And it's really sad. It's really sad.
Send it back to her where it came from.
And look, one thing that she was saying, right? Because she was like, oh, maybe because he says a lot of curse words, it's more relatable, all that stuff. You know, it kind of reminds me of when I first entered the church, right? When I was through my crazy life, right? When I first entered and I went to like this young adult group, right? I was trying to relate to people with all the bad things that I was going through, right? But what made me actually attracted to the church was not the bad stuff that I could relate to people, but the goodness and the love, the friendliness, the kindness, the warmth, the receiving, right? That is what ended up becoming relatable, right?
Yeah.
Because that was something that maybe was lacking in my life, right? And I was able to receive it through Christ, right? And from there, everything I don't relate to you with all the bad things that we used to do, right? We never, like, who cares about that? That's like my past. I don't want to relate to anybody with those things, you know? I want to relate with all the goodness, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why our conversations have to do with like God and how we edify each other and everything like that, you know?
Yeah.
So I really disagree with that point. It was like, maybe we should, you know, put a little injection of society into these movies, right? Where it could be more relatable. Get out of here,
This
right?
is not relatable, bro.
Nah,
this
man.
is not relatable.
I don't want to relate, right? This is a saintly man performing miracles before our eyes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
This guy was
legit.
making people walk.
Bilocating.
People making, there's a little girl that didn't have pupils, right?
Yeah.
Didn't have pupils, went to Padre Pio. He went like Jesus Christ, right? When he made the blind to see, he put his stigmata hands on her face,
And that's it.
right? Rubbed her eyes with her thumbs, and she was able to see, bro, right? And to this day, she doesn't have pupils, right? That is the Saint Padre Pio that we know and that we were hoping to see.
Right.
And instead,
I want to say something about that. There's like another argument that people are making,
I was about to bring that up.
which is that they're like, you know, like even though Padre Pio, yes, he bilocated, he had the stigmata, all these things.
But he was
you know,
human.
he was not only human, right?
That's so
but
dumb.
this movie, the perspective of this movie, because I've had some time to really discern and think about it and listen to the directors and listen to the actor and what they were trying to do, you know. And so this is like young Padre Pio, you know. So at this time, Padre Pio was going through a lot of suffering and a lot of temptation, right? And so they were trying to make it seem, which it's so interesting. This was like the only argument that I could say that could maybe justify this, but even then it's not that much of an argument.
he still performed
Is
miracles,
that
though.
simultaneously,
Just
as
so
they
you know.
were going through these political issues and people were dying and they were being tortured and all these things, as they were going through that, Padre Pio was offering his life for their salvation, and he wanted to unite himself to the cross. And so they really wanted to show that he wasn't just suffering, like it wasn't this cutesy wootsy thing.
Yeah.
Like, no, like the devil was literally taunting him and over, and you know, that's why they show that scene in the confession, and it's the enemy, and then the enemy appears as the woman, and then the enemy is doing this, and so it's like a constant taunting, you know what I mean? And so, and I get that, you know, and I get that because sometimes like we want to see saints through a certain lens, you know, and at the end of the day, they were human and they went through numerous things. And so for me, it's not just a matter of like not showing that side. I feel like you can show that side and that's fine. But I just feel like if you're going to name a movie Padre Pio after his name, like you got to complete the cycle. You know what I mean? Like you
100%.
can't just go and focus on this part, you know, and film it in such a grotesque and vulgar and like blasphemous manner, and then not finish it off, you know, because someone that knows nothing about Padre
He's
Pio,
like,
which
what?
when you watch a movie, you should assume that the viewer knows nothing about who you're, you know, whatever, right? Someone who knows nothing would look at this movie and think this man was disturbed. Like this man was like had
They made
issues.
him look like a deranged crazy man.
As a matter of fact, I've seen in some of the reviews from obviously non-Catholic people, they're like, oh, that these like for example, the scene with the naked woman or whatnot, it could have been like a memory that Padre Pio had like with a woman, or like
This guy was a saint from
because
little
they
kid.
don't know, because they don't know anything. So the way that it was filmed, it looks like this guy's a pervert. This guy's disturbed.
Deception. I'm telling you,
This guy-
deception.
Correct.
Yeah,
And
that's
so that was one of the most offensive things, that as a Catholic, you know what I mean? You're thinking this is something that's gonna be honoring to Padre Pio, and that's gonna give glory to God, and it was not that. But the great point is to go back from the beginning to what you mentioned, is that this was not a Catholic film. This was not made by a Catholic director. Yes, Shia LaBeouf is in his conversion journey, but he's still doing RCIA. This was not a Catholic director. As a matter of fact, when I finished watching the movie, I then went and looked up the director. And even though, wow, very nice of him to want to do a saint movie of Padre Pio and all these things, and want to bring in Shia LaBeouf, he used to film like pornographic content. That's how he started his thing.
How beautiful.
Wow.
And it's not until 10 years ago that he kind of changed his life and everything like that. And then when I found that out about him, I'm like, this makes sense. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, this lady had to show up on set, get butt naked, do these scenes. I then heard an interview of him that he had out. This is what was said in the interview. So this person was interviewing the director, and she says, what was the balance you wanted to strike? Because a lot of times the stories are parallel. They don't seem to intersect a lot. I was like, exactly. The
Right.
stories are parallel. They're not working together.
Right.
So what was the balance you were trying to strike with the struggle on this side and the struggle on the other, right? Which is the argument.
That's a good question.
Which is the argument that priest was trying to mention in that other video.
Which I
it
like
was
the priest.
Oh, the
I just hate that he
suffering
said
that
that.
Padre Pio was having with the people, and that's what's gonna. This is what the director of the film said. This is quote. I don't think about it. I wasn't even thinking about it, about the balance between these two things, because there are two realities.
What the?
This came out of his mouth. What happened in that town, we researched it, and you can come as close as you can to the truth with an event that happened 100 years ago. Okay?
Hold on.
So-
What? What kind of director of a movie is this? So you're making a movie that makes no sense, basically? That's what he's saying? Like, how many movies has this guy done?
Well,
we gotta look that up because
apparently this is like a very big director, but with what he said, he made clear a couple things. Number one, he had no interest really in just focusing on Padre
connecting.
Pio's life.
and why
okay?
put it as a
And
display?
this was something that I was telling Gabe. There's obviously in this movie, anybody that's watched it, there's an underlying political como que agenda in
Socialism
there.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, it was titled Padre Pio, but in reality, he's trying to get at other things. Okay, apparently this guy, his family, I think, was raised in Italy around the town, and so he kind of wanted to make a movie about this. Sometimes filmmakers, they need to, they want to make something interesting. So even if it's not their faith or anything like that, they'll pick a certain thing.
This
in
is
this
the
case,
deep
he was
conclusion.
like, "Oh look, this Padre Pio les do my-" So he wasn't even Catholic. Now, all this to say, it appears as though through his process of making the movie, it looks like he's also going through some sort of conversion, just like Shia LaBeouf, okay? So we definitely have to pray for him. But unfortunately, his work was already produced, there was obviously no prayer, there was no discernment in this. I know that they gave approval to this friar to be a part of the film or whatever, which it kind of blows my mind
Yeah,
that he got approval all the way from the top, and they wouldn't even I would say you should watch.
I would
the
say that was on
content
them.
before
Yeah.
it gets put out, because I'll give you an example of why I'm mentioning the whole Catholic film. Is like there's another film that I think it's called the one about the exorcist,
Nefarious.
the Pope's exorcist.
Oh, the
or whatever,
Pope's exorcist,
right?
another trash.
With like Russell Crowe or something like that. Russell
I've never
Crowe
seen
is
it.
like Russell Crowe,
Don't watch
like
him,
Gladiator,
You saw
Trash.
it? You saw
amazing
it?
actor. No, right, but
Just
I wouldn't watch that movie because I already know it's not Catholic, and because I already know they're gonna
Exactly.
completely twist everything.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't watch it. However, Russell Crowe, amazing actor.
Yeah, he's
It
awesome.
sounds like an amazing film.
He's an actor.
We're Catholic. We know about spiritual warfare. We know this
Yeah.
happens. We're like,
Yeah.
cool. You would think that, but you already know they're not gonna be Catholic, so they're not gonna go and do it right. And
Theologically right.
I've already heard from priests that are like, yeah, definitely don't watch the movie. It's like
Yeah,
completely
not
backwards and everything.
right.
And so in this case, this is the same unfortunate case where the director's not Catholic. you know, this wasn't discerned about. They went about and they did this movie. We were caught off guard, you know.
Deception.
We went and we were deceived. We were deceived. That's literally what it was.
I remember when, I guess the good people,
Yeah.
right, in the movie came into like their home to like plan and like think about things, and I just see this huge frame of Karl Marx, right?
No way.
Yeah, and I pointed out to Steph,
What?
I'm like, wait, this is Karl Marx. I'm like, who are the good guys here? You know, and I was just like so confused throughout the whole entire movie, right? It's just nothing made sense. With both sides, the historical context and then the story of Padre Pio was left incomplete. There is no like intro, climax, nothing. It was just like complete both
A waste
separate,
of time, I do.
Definitely, right? And one thing that like I want to add to like what Steph was saying with the arguments that people give about Padre Pio being, oh, this is the young part, right? Well, maybe you shouldn't do the young part. And the reason why I say this is because it's like saying that for those who have actually seen the Saint Ignatius of Loyola movie,
Right.
which I thought was really good, right?
I like it too.
It's like saying
Very
you
real.
only focus on his young part of his journey of his life,
Yeah,
right?
where he was fighting.
Where he was sleeping with women,
Yeah.
completely like lost, and then finally he
Going
loses
crazy.
he like loses his legs where he can't walk.
Yeah.
And then you end the movie where he reads the Saints book,
And
and
that's
that's
it.
where his conversion starts.
Yeah. Legit.
And then it ends. And it's like, wait, what? Right? You would be super confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And so with Padre Pio, right, this as a kid, he actually saw apparitions of Mary.
He would
right?
talk to God very
So-
directly.
Right. So if you're gonna do a young Padre Pio, right? Well, you gotta do
Represent the wow.
some you gotta do some young memories too then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And build it up to like, hey, this is a saintly man that you're about to see here.
Right.
And his story is just beginning.
Right,
That's
right,
the way
right,
it is,
right,
right? Where it's like, oh, part 2 is coming.
Right.
Right? That's how it's supposed to
They
be.
lost the money there. They should have hired you, bro.
Right? Right? And then they build it up, and then they ended where he got the stigmata.
Yeah.
But it's just like, wait, what? Right? Because then it would have been awesome from a part 2
Yeah.
where he got the stigmata, because
And they
this is
lived that
where he
life.
gets super popular.
Right. 50 years of that.
But when he was young, a lot of things happened in his young life with the apparition.
Same
He got
with this.
multiple
Yeah.
apparitions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He still
Yeah.
did healings and he still did miracles,
Yeah.
right? So they needed to focus on that. They didn't really focus on his life, right? Instead, they made him look like a crazy madman
Freaking
that,
deception, bro.
that curses to people, right? People still came to him for
By the way,
confessions.
he never cursed.
And which
Nobody can tell me he cursed. Because from the
That-
very beginning
look-
of his life, this guy was devoutly into God.
yeah,
You know when
100%,
somebody's like this, like,
but-
so many things, bro.
Like, but I would say that's not even like the important part, because, like, if you throw a curse word in there, right?
Yeah.
But you portray this guy like
Rage.
to the T, like I would have been like, whatever, like, yeah, I would have let us. Maybe he did one time. He got super bad or whatever. Yeah, I could like let that go and it's
Right.
forgivable and I'd be merciful and whatever. But then when you're making him look just like how you like just bad and trash,
Bananas.
right? And then on top of that, you're destroying his character by making him curse all the time, all this stuff, and it's just bad, right? And so definitely don't recommend
I
anyone
think
to
all
watch
in
this
all,
movie.
people who, you know, and I mentioned it on Instagram too, people who create content, people who make movies, people who make any sort of things with art, sometimes we feel like in the world of art, everything is like, okay,
Everything's a
because
goal.
it's art.
It's
we
art.
we can do it all. It's okay.
For the sake of art.
Yeah, right.
For the sake of art, you know, for the sake of interpretation, for the sake of giving something context, right? And so I don't believe that that's the case. I believe that there needs to be rules. There needs to be a sense of morality, especially when
line
you're
you can't
talking
cross.
about faith
saint.
or whatnot. Like, I promise you, if this would have been a Muslim film about Muhammad or
when
you
there's
know
a-
a Jewish film or something,
They should do one about
people
Muhammad
would
and
be-
we'll see the
people
truth.
would be going nuts, you know. But because it's a Catholic film, you know, it's like everything goes. We can you know get away with all these things. And I didn't even think about the fact that the director was saying how they got kids from that town, like little poor kids, to be a part of the actual film, and how they were so excited because
Oh, my.
they were like, imagine Padre Pio
No
is
way.
like the top of the top in
Yeah,
that place.
for real.
So these kids are obviously gonna go and watch this film that they were in. Their parents are gonna go. The families, los tíos, everyone's gonna go. You know, all the nuns that are gonna go, all the friars that are gonna go, like all the priests that are gonna go, and you're gonna be exposed to these things. And here's the thing, like the enemy, like we need to guard our hearts, our minds, our bodies, our spirit, everything, because what the enemy does is that he takes different things, right? And then that's what he uses to like
Twist our minds.
Twist our minds to create different things. A lot of people don't know this, right?
Yeah.
But that's exactly how he does it, you know? So he can't take something that is not already there.
Right. He now has been able to put that disturbing image to thousands of people that they never even have thought of something like that.
Right.
And now it's there.
Yeah, because like he's not gonna make up something that is not that you never seen. Now, but you've seen this already, and he is able, whenever you're in motor scene or whatever, he's able to now remind you of this scene, going back to it, and probably getting you into pornography and masturbation.
Right. Which is particularly
it's just all deception.
What we were talking about. That one of the biggest points here is that as Catholics, as Christians, we need to guard our minds, we need to guard our hearts, and so the whole thought of like, I'm just gonna watch a movie because it's A, B, C, D, E, and it won't matter, it won't affect me. I'm gonna listen to this type of music. I'm gonna assist this type of concert, you know, and it's okay. It's not gonna affect me. Like, you're wrong, you know. It will, because that's exactly what the enemy uses, and we are very fragile creatures, you know. Sometimes we think of ourselves like way more highly than we are, you know. But I don't know if you wanna share anything about that.
No, it's very funny because I think this same year there's a documentary on Padre Pio that just came out too. Like, I remember people were confused: is this the movie or is this documentary?
Was it good?
And it was
great.
really good.
I loved it because we learned new details that we
we never knew about Padre Pio.
It's a movie.
Yes, and it was really nice. And I remember right after the movie, the documentary was over, like, you want to go and pray a novena to Padre Pio, you already want to do all the things that they say, so I think, like, if you're watching something about a saint, you should feel like something has to come out of the movie or the documentary that's going to push you to do something. Like, in our case, when we watched that documentary, it was like, we got to learn more about Padre Pio, because look at all these things, look at these miracles, all these testimonies from the people. So it kind of encourages you to look up more. Even there's a St. Joseph documentary that just came out, and they talked about the different devotions to St. Joseph, like devotions that I never heard. And I was like, I'm going to do that devotion, or I'm going to learn more about St. Joseph. So if you're putting a movie out there about a saint and you're not getting anything out of it, what's the point of watching it?
Here's the thing, like, honestly speaking, you know, to kind of like close this up, we already said, you do not recommend it. I throw it to the garbage. I send it back to hell in the name of Jesus. It's bad, just bad, bro. Because everything about it is just bad. The only great thing, because God is God, is that he converted, like I said, you know, all the things I said, I'm not going to repeat it. He converted this guy, and then through this guy, all the people also learn about the Catholic faith, and hopefully they convert as well. Amen. Praise the Lord. Now, the movie in itself, it's totally trash. It's totally trash. Nobody should see it. And this sick and stupid argument of many Catholics, so even traditional Catholics, watch yourself, with these prideful thoughts of like, oh, I don't struggle with pornography, so I got no problem with watching nudes or something that has to, like a nude situation in a movie. That's fine. Like, I don't get bothered by it. Let me tell you something. Pride is the sin that got Satan where he is. So watch out yourself, because you cannot get into this place like, it's fine to see something nude or erotic outside of marriage. And it's not fine. It's not fine. It's exactly the opposite. You shouldn't be watching anything or looking at anything purposely, because, you know, when I'm talking about this topic right here, it's not to those people that watched the movie and it happened. They didn't know. But I'm talking about the people that after the fact that they have not watched it, and we gave the comment out there of what actually happened, they said, why are you so going so big about it? And there's a lot of people that actually said that.
Yeah.
Why are you going so big about it? Who cares about a nude? I'm gonna watch this movie because I'm so, like, you know, nothing bothers me. I don't worry about pornography and masturbation, so I'm fine. Like, who cares about a nude? That's really sad, because if that person is on that mindset,
and I would say that's only one tiny part that you could get out of the movie, right?
Yeah.
The other things are just blasphemous, right? The licking of the statue, the complete false portrayal of Padre Pio, right? The whole entire communistic or socialistic type of hidden agenda into this movie, right? So it's not just the pornographic scene. There's just multiple things that are just
Not
bad,
Catholic at all.
wrong, not Catholic. It's just, you should stay away from it,
Yeah.
right? And another thing is, just because you're not struggling with pornography or nudity or whatever, doesn't mean someone else is not, right? And so maybe we shouldn't think about ourselves so much and really think about others,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And what we put out there, right? Whether it's a movie, a podcast, or whatever it is, we really have to be mindful, right? Of not just ourselves, but with others as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Some point, Steph, to close that up.
Yeah, like I did not want to see Shia LaBeouf's butt. Like
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't.
You saw
That's
his
another thing.
butt.
I saw Shia LaBeouf's
That is
butt.
traumatizing
I
for
didn't-
me.
I wasn't expecting.
I would have been
to,
like,
you know,
I can't forget this.
like we were.
They
laughing,
purposely
we were
did it
cracking
too.
up.
Again, it was like his back, right? It was literally like his back, and we were like, oh yeah,
My
I guess
goodness, what
he's
is
nude. And then
this?
like purposely was just like, let's look at his butt.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. guy.
And the only reason why I'm giving like some details is because obviously
Would have wanted
no
to see
need
it.
to. There's no need to see it, right? But just to give you an idea, you know what I
Why?
mean. But I wanted to commend you guys because I feel like there was like two teams with this thing. When I first sent out the message about not promoting the film or whatnot,
Yeah.
I like debated doing that because I'm like, I know there's gonna be some people that me just saying that is gonna make them be like, ooh, maybe I want to watch a film, you know. And so I debated doing that. I'm like, should I do that? Because I just really don't. But then I was like, you know what? I have to because some people it's gonna be out of ignorance, out of innocence. Literally, what happened to us? They're gonna go watch it as a group, as a young adult group,
for
as a
sure.
parish.
Yeah.
As with your mom, with your
Your
dad, that
children.
loves Padre Pio, with
Many
your
people
children,
told me
you know?
they had the 10, 8 years old watching this movie.
Yeah, like, you know, many people, you know, might go and with their families, and it's like, I would hate to be there with my children and everything, and then come across these scenes, like, how can I possibly explain that to my child? You know what I mean? And so I'm like, no, I have to put it out, and you know what? If someone wants to be stubborn and prideful, like you're saying, and they still want to go watch it, like, that's on
We'll pray
them,
for
and
you.
I'm gonna pray for them, you know?
Definitely.
But I want to commend you guys for, like, just saying, you know what? Like, no, like, we don't, like, when you die, Jesus is not going to ask you, okay, did you watch the Padre Pio film with Shia LaBeouf? And, like, what happened
How
at, like, 30
specific.
minutes and 57 seconds? He's not going to ask you that. You know, he's going to ask you, like, how did you love me? How did you serve me? Like, do I even, like, recognize you? You know what I mean? And it's, like, we have to, like, put ourselves in check, realize and recognize that we're fragile, that we're sinners, you know, and that we need to protect ourselves. Like in our case, we stream this at home. Like, what are we allowing to come into our homes? What are we allowing when we go out to movie theaters to enter our hearts? What are we allowing when we go to a concert, when we're driving in our cars, to be in our AirPods, to be in our cars? Like, all of these things, guys, they're impacting your hearts. They're impacting your lives, you know? They're things that the enemy can use, you know? And I know, like we said that, but I wanted to reiterate that because a lot of young people are watching this. And when we're young, sometimes our brains are not fully developed. And so we think, like,
We got it all.
you know, like, we, like, it's okay. Like, we
we're
can just
invincible.
do it all. We're invincible. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
God loves us, and he's going to forgive us, and all is well in the world.
Definitely.
And it's like, life is very short. Like, you don't know when your time is going to come. And so we got to really fight the good fight, you know, and help each other out as brothers and sisters in Christ. And it's like, if you see your brother going down the wrong path or something that's going to impact them, like, I would hate, I know people who struggle with pornography. I know people, you know, I would
So
hate
many
for any
people.
of them to be exposed to any of this, or even people that maybe are struggling with, like, certain Marian doctrines, to see something like that and for something like that to impact them. And no, I don't believe that this is something that's going to help someone that's a non-Catholic to convert to the Catholic
I don't
faith.
think
There
it's
are
gonna
way
help
better
anybody.
movies out there.
Nobody.
You
Even
know,
themselves.
there's other things out there, you know, but I think that also as Catholics, like, we need to hold these directors, these actors, like,
Accountable.
all these artists to a higher standard. Like, sometimes we get so hype over people, you know, and just like, oh, this person is making this movie. Yeah, let's go watch it. Let's go put money towards that. Let's support them and everything. And it's like, No, you need to make your content worthy of my support. I'm not going to purchase a ticket. I'm not going to support your movie, your whatever it is, unless you're actually glorifying God, you know, unless you're actually leading others to Christ. Like, if you're not willing to do that and you just want to create a work out of your selfishness, out of something that's going to benefit you, and even worse, something that's like going to be blasphemous and whatnot, just for views or whatever you think, or you're making a beautiful work of art, like, I'm not going to support you. I will speak out against you. You know, I'm not going to be afraid to do that. Even if people criticize you, say that you're a prude or say whatever, I don't care. You know, like, we're in this together. And it's like, you know, if you want to put a saint name, a Catholic name behind your work, then let it actually be a representation of our faith, of what's truly good, beautiful, and truthful. That's representative of Jesus Christ himself. You know what I mean?
You gotta say, I take it back.
That's why
Look, bro, like, if they were genuinely, like, trying to do something good, they would even name Padre Pio the movie.
Yeah, because they named it after Padre Pio.
They would have said, listen, they would have probably showed the weird thing in the trailer.
Right.
It's a total deception. It sucks.
And just to finalize too, like, because again, this is especially for Catholics, right? That we're giving this. Obviously, it's advice for everyone.
Catholic ministry
But
community.
as Edwin was saying, how so many Catholics are just like, they don't really care about it. That's actually pretty worrying, because if this was a saint movie, then what about the secular movies that you watch,
watching a lot
right?
of stuff.
Like, for example, for us, we love watching movies, but for us, for us to start watching a movie, probably take us almost an hour peeking the movie.
You're
'Cause
choosing the movie, bro.
We watch the trailers, we read, and sometimes we even start it, and then obviously there's a scene that goes against our faith, like, for example, something that is blasphemic. Obviously, we stop it right there and we move on to another one.
Even if we see, like, we watch a lot of romantic stuff that is like kind of like homework kind of way.
Right.
We love those. I never thought I would love this.
Oh, you like this?
Because it's like, because that's the only thing there is.
Hallmark movies.
Like Hallmark movies.
Not like the
only thing
style,
there
like
is.
romantic movies that they
Because, bro,
have the
like,
stories.
if you watch something else, they're like literally getting naked. You're like, what the
Right.
Yeah, and if it's like that,
What
we
you-
stop it. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, like, even if this was not a Catholic name movie, like,
Right.
You shouldn't
even
watch
so, if it has a
Correct.
scene
I
that
agree.
goes against our faith, that's it. You
There you go,
can't
baby.
watch
Hit it.
You know?
It's funny. Sometimes we'll like fast forward through the movie, and then next thing you know, we're like, we fast forward more than half of the movie. We're like, wait, maybe we should, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Bro, yeah.
it's
If I
ridiculous.
fast forward more than 10 seconds, that's bad.
It's too much. It's
That
too
bad.
much, you know.
Bro, hey.
As for me and my
Yeah.
house, we will
We serve the
Lord.
Lord. Amen. Guys, thank you so much for allowing us to be in your beautiful home. The Lord of the house. What is the Lord of the house? The house of the Lord. And your family and your marriage, beautiful marriage and family. Thank you, baby, for being with us here once again. Guys, thank you so much for watching this. Please share this to all your friends who still have not watched the movie. And to those that didn't watch the movie, just give this to them so they have a broader idea.
Hit the like button and subscribe.
Hit the like button and subscribe. Steph said something very important. When the director said that he wasn't even thinking about connecting the two, you already know this is like stupid as heck. Like, it makes no sense to even worry about. Like, if I would have known that, probably wouldn't even make this video stuff. But anyway, I already did it. You already know, guys. God bless you. And before we go, let's close with a Hail Mary, because it's just too bad. Let's close with a Hail Mary in nome del Padre, Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Saint Padre Pio,
Pray
for us. In nome del Padre, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
Amen.
On to the next one, guys. Take care. God bless
Bye.
y'all.